Hi, this is Peter Davis from Jigsaw Trading, and today we're going to look at getting started with the Jigsaw tools. Part of the focus of this video will be on traders that have never used any form of order flow tool before. For those of you that have used Xtrader and are coming across from there, you're going to find it probably just takes you a couple of hours to get up and running on Jigsaw. We do also have some tools that are very unique to Jigsaw, like the reconstructed tape and the power meters. So there is going to be some discussion in this video for everybody on how you can actually start to use those. For traders with no experience of using order flow at all before, it's important to understand that there's two separate skills that you're going to have to learn here. The first skill is the ability to actually read and absorb the order flow information as it's coming into you. The second skill is using that order flow information to actually make a trading decision. It would be a mistake to try and learn both of those skills at the same time. So what we're going to talk about is setting aside specific time to just learning to read the order flow information first. So what you should not do is run the tools and immediately use them to complement your existing trading methods. You should also not try and scalp the market on Sim. Now you need to be focused just on reading the DOM. If you have charts up or other screens that you currently use or a squawk on or any other kind of alert system, your focus is going to naturally gravitate away from our tools towards the tools that you're more comfortable with. It is a lot more comfortable to look at the things you currently use than something new that you're trying to learn. Also, if you enter sim trades as you're actually trying to read this information, you're suddenly going to give yourself a bias, and you initially need to start reading this information without any bias or any preconceptions whatsoever. Now later on, when you get past the learning to read it stage, it's a really good idea to have a bias and a really good idea to sim trade. But right now, when you first start, I'd like you to consider no trading and nothing else on the screen that you currently use. Okay, so here's the depth and sales for two markets. Crude oil on the left and the S&P Mini 500 on the right. Crude oil on the left is what we know as a thin market. A thin markets are markets like crude, Dow, gold, that usually have less than 100 contracts at each level here on the DOM. So this is the red column and the blue column there. Thick markets like the ES, E-mini S&P 500 futures, Euro Stoxx 50 on Eurex, the US Treasuries, they have hundreds or even thousands of contracts at each level on the DOM. Now, there's an argument that says for trade confirmation, the depth and sales is more useful for thick markets than thin markets. Areas tend to hold to the tick on a thicker market, and you aren't looking for action that occurs over so many prices as you are with a thin market. Now, similarly, you could argue that the tape tools, the reconstructed tape, the summary tape, the power meters, are more appropriate for thinner markets. They actually have less trades going through overall, and the changes in pace and exceptional size is actually easier to see on a thinner market. Now, saying that, we do actually have customers that are trading crude that just use depth and sales, and we do have customers that trade the E-minis that just use the power meters and the reconstructed tape. So the fact is that whilst some tools might suit some markets, also some tools suit some people better. And that's going to be a major factor in which of these tools you get the most from. So for now, as you get into this, just keep an open mind about what tool you're going to eventually gravitate towards. So what are the first steps? The first step is, as you go into this endeavor, is to relax. Look at this as something fun that you're about to start. It's something new that you're going to learn. There is no reason that you shouldn't actually enjoy learning this. Okay, it is actually quite fun to watch the market and see people kind of getting stuck, people getting run over, and the ebb and flow of the markets. And don't put pressure on yourself by trying to sim trade or to live trade as you go through this learning process. That will make it a frustrating activity. You'll get sick of it very quickly if you just dive straight into sim trading, because you will consistently lose. because you haven't spent the time ahead of time figuring out what it is you need to look for. Now, you're going to be making progress that can be measured in hours. Okay? You're going to actually start to see things that you haven't considered before in the first few days. Okay? But what you need to do, because this is a new skill and because people tend to burn out and lose focus very quickly, is allocate only 60 to 90 minutes per session. And only do that 1 to 2 times per day. And stick on one market. Okay? Now, if you're not sure which market you want to actually stick to with your order flow, then put in a few days ahead of the time you're actually going to start to learn the order flow. Put in a few days and actually take a look at the order flow on different markets. And I would recommend you do that for the crude, the gold. I recommend you look at corn. Recommend you look at the 6E. I recommend you look at some of the markets on Eurex. Recommend you look at the ES, because those markets all move in quite different ways. Of course, US Treasuries as well. So have a look at a few different markets, and you might find that one particular market talks to you, and then that's the one that you gravitate towards, and then stick to that market for a few weeks and do your 60 to 90 minute sessions just on that market. Now, it's also important to actually do this at peak times. There's no point doing this if it's 3 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, because there's no movement. You need to be looking at, if you're trading in the US, you need to be looking at from 8 a.m. Eastern up towards lunchtime. You need to avoid news releases, because basically what you're looking at isn't going to be readable during a news release. And it's very important. All charts, news feeds, scores, alerts, off, everything, all you're going to have up on your screen is one single depth in sales. Okay, so here is my one single depth in sales. And what are we going to focus on? Okay, initially, I want you to focus on just one thing, and that would be the current trade columns in the center here. Now, those current trade columns are showing you how many contracts are executing at each level. So the red text here, the 8, that's how many sell market orders have traded into the bid at 1789.25. The blue number is how many buy market orders have traded into the offer at 1789.50. And all you're going to do is focus initially on this column and nothing else. And the things I want you to pay attention to are the size of the contracts executing at each level, the difference in size between the trades hitting the bid, which is this here, and hitting the offer, which is this here. I want you to look at the changes in size over time. So if it hits the bid at 200, ticks down, hits the bid at 300, ticks down, hits the bid, 3,000 contracts trade. Significant changes in size. I want you to look out for that. I want you to look out for the changes in speed. It ticks up and down. So it might trade, tick down, trade, tick down, trade, tick down, trade, 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 no tick down. Okay. I also want you to look at how easy it ticks up versus tick down. So you might find right now we've got 267 contracts traded. We might be at this price. What could happen, we could tick up. It stays at that new price for just a second and then falls back down. So it ticked down almost immediately after ticking up. So right now, the market's taking a long time to tick up. Okay, and it didn't tick up at all. Market's taking a long time to tick up, but it's ticking down much easier. Then I want you to look at prices that we seem to get stuck at. Okay, so we move to a price, we seem to stick at that price, can't get away from it. Prices that we seem to gravitate back towards, and prices that nobody wants to trade, and that is all. Okay, so just this center column, we're going to ignore the depth here, and just focus on that center column. Okay, now right now, you may have a perception that people that are reading the order book are actually looking at all of the numbers at the same time. And so it concerns you that you can't actually read and kind of process and absorb all of the numbers at the same time. And the fact is, nobody can read all of those numbers at the same time. the thing we're doing is we're focusing on specific information a lot of the time, but then what we do is occasionally we glance at other information. The most important thing about order flow is the actual orders that are flowing in, and that's what those center columns show you. Okay. Now obviously, as we get to a key level, we might look at the total number of orders that have traded into that key level previously. We might look at the volume profile over here for a trade location. But right from the start, all you're really interested in are these numbers. Now the other thing is, don't try and do mathematics in your head. Don't try and tally up the total number of trades either side as it moves. If the difference between the amount trading into the offer and the bid are not obvious, then it's not going to be important. Now, if you do what I've just said for about 5 or 6 times, 5 or 6 of these 60 to 90 minute sessions, you're going to see certain things occurring. You're going to see price coming to a level, trading a lot of contracts, but price gets stuck, and also traders getting stuck. And you're going to see that kind of thing. You will absolutely definitely see these things. Nobody does this and doesn't see those things if they focus on their current trades. Okay. Now, I don't want to say too much about what you're going to see because I want you to start this with an open mind. But what I will say is if you spend the 5 or 6 60 to 90 minute sessions, you can Skype me or you can go to the Jigsaw Skype group and you can have a chat with the other traders about what you're seeing, and you'll find you're actually having an intelligent conversation based on what you now have, which is a kind of a deeper appreciation of the order flow than if you've spent no time looking at this at all. Now, as this becomes easier, you can start to look at other information. So we have like a split profile here, which is showing this is all the volume that's hit into the bid, this is all the volume that's hit into the offer, and this is the total volume profile. I personally tend to focus more on the total volume profile than the split profile. Okay, so from my perspective, your secondary focus would be occasionally glancing at the volume profile to see where large volume is and to see where small volume is. So that would be your secondary focus. The third thing that you might want to focus on, very specifically, this would be used when you're about to enter the market, is the snapshot column here, which is basically telling me right now that contracts are being added to the bid and contracts are being subtracted from the offer. Now the offer is still bigger than the bid, but right now they're adding contracts to the bid and they're pulling contracts from the offer. If we get some more pulling here and we get some more stacking here, I would expect price to actually tick up. But really that's something, that snapshot column. Okay, there was that tick up. So that snapshot column is really something you're going to use just to refine an entry. It's not something that you're going to be watching the market's ebb and flow. Okay. Now, the next thing we might want to focus on is the depth. Okay, the market depth. Now, this is obviously very famous for being spoofed, but what you're looking here is obvious outliers. So, if the average depth is 1500, then somebody spoofing the market is not going to put up a bid of 1590. Okay, he's going to put up 2000 because it's more visible and it's more obvious. So if we look at the bids and offers now, we can see this offer of 1125 contracts. We don't know if it's real or fake right now, but what we do know is that that's an outlier. And again, that's the kind of thing you're looking at when you're reading the order flow. But again, the depth isn't something that we're going to be looking at every time. It's more a thing that we're going to be looking at after we've done some refining with the order execution here. Now, what you can also do after a while is you can start to put the key levels you've got from your analysis of the market into here. So, for instance, if you use yesterday's high as an indicator, then you can put yesterday's high in there, and then you could actually start to combine your existing analysis techniques and the order flow by now watching order flow as we come into this specific level. Okay, now as far as depth and sales is concerned, that is all you need to do. Okay, it's no more difficult than that. So just focus on the center two columns. Don't worry about the other columns later. You will know when you are ready to start paying some attention for the other columns. Okay, it will become very easy to read those center columns after a while, and then you can focus on the other stuff. Now, with the reconstructed tape and the power meters, a lot of the information on there is the same as the current trade columns on depth and sales. We're either looking at all of the trades, just large trades, looking at power meter with all trades showing us the difference between the amount of buying and selling, or we're looking at the power meter, filtered trade showing the difference in the buying and selling of the large players. It's all similar to that current trade column in depth and sales. It's just giving you a slightly different way to read it. And this is a skill. This is basically what tape reading is, the reading of the actual trades going through. And what you're interested with the tape reading, you're interested in the pace of the trades, how quickly the trades are actually coming in. You're concerned with the activity of large traders. Again, concerned with prices that we keep coming back to, prices that we can't get through, and prices that nobody wants to trade. And we're also looking at a switch in activity from being predominantly buy side to predominantly sell side and vice versa. And with the reconstructed tape and the power meters, the way you should approach it is slightly different from the way you approach learning the depth and sales. First of all, it helps when you're learning the reconstructed tape and power meters, it helps to already have your levels defined. And one of the reasons for that is because it helps if you actually reset the meters as you approach a level you're looking to trade. Now, as you approach a level you're looking to trade, you're going to watch the pace of the market as you come into that level. Does it rush towards it? Does it back away from it? You're going to watch the distribution of buy to sell orders. You might start moving up, but you might find that actually on that move up, you're actually seeing a lot more selling orders start actually coming into the market. You're also looking to see if large players are still around and on which side. So again, if you're moving up to a level where you think the market might reverse, did all of a sudden the large buy market orders kind of disappear and all you're seeing are the one lot warriors? It also helps if you record the action and play it back. Now you can use Camtasia, you can use BB Flashback, which is a free screen recorder. Just record the screen, and then what you can do is you can actually go over the turning points later on and kind of analyze the kind of action that you saw at those turning points. But obviously, remember what we said, it really does help if you reset the meters as you approach a level. Now it also helps if you sim trade and follow the post-entry order flow. Because again, a lot of people, they look at order flow and they only think about their entry. But one of the really fantastic uses of order flow is once you're in a trade, to see if the flow of orders is actually on your side, so you know whether to carry on with the trade or whether to cut it short. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at the reconstructed tape and the power meters. So what we can see here on this screen, we have a reconstructed tape here showing all trades. I wouldn't recommend having a reconstructed tape just showing the small trades. For purely looking at the flow of order, just a reconstructed tape showing all trades. And you actually do that by saying, I want to show large trades with the size filter of 1. And then to the side, I would have a reconstructed tape just showing the large trades. Okay. Now, what I would say in terms of focus and the tool that you just want to glance at occasionally, if you're looking to enter the market and you're getting up to your point where you want to enter the market, if you are going to use the reconstructed tape, you need to focus purely on this and maybe just glance across every few seconds to see how the large traders are coming in. Now that's from a reconstructed tape point of view, but we also have a strength meter point of view here, where we have a strength meter that shows effectively the same information as reconstructed tape. Let me just clear that. Okay. So what we're actually seeing as trades come in is we can see that the sell market orders are colored red. We've got 8, 10 sell market orders. As some buy market order comes in, we'll actually see a blue bar. So it actually doesn't show us the individual trades. It doesn't show us the pace of trades coming in, but it does show us the overall ratio of buy to sell orders. Now what we also have across here, that's also just reset, is a reconstructed tape that's just looking at the large orders. Okay, and we reset it, and since we reset it, only one large order has come in. So really, if we look at this reconstructed tape, this large reconstructed tape, this strength meter here, this left strength meter here, it's the same information that we have on these sensitive columns here. And that's what I say, that some tools will just suit some people better. For no other reason, it's just their personality. Now the other strength meters we have there, the strength meter in the middle is actually showing bids and offers. It's not showing all bids and offers. Okay, I've got this set to just show the first 2 levels of depth. We could use the first 3 levels of depth. And it just shows me, on the red side, it shows me the first 3 levels, total of the first 3 levels, and on the blue side, total of the first 3 levels here. And then on this strength meter here, I'm seeing effectively what I see, anything blue will consist of what's added here and what's subtracted here. So if you add to a bid, it's considered bullish, and if you subtract from an offer, it's considered bullish. So we can see here, it's showing us that the bids are being stacked, offers are being pulled, and right now we're still stacked slightly on the offer side. So what we need to see is this kind of blue push up a bit here, and then we should start to tick up. Okay, we didn't get that push up there. But again, the reason you have those 3 strength meters, it's just a different perspective of the information you're seeing here. So this strength meter represents sensitive columns. This one represents these columns. This one represents these columns. Some people will simply find one format easier to read than the others. So don't get hung up on trying to use everything at once, because there is duplication of information. If you do the exercises as we've described, you're going to be able to absorb the information, but you also, just by the fact you spent time looking at it, you're going to have a good idea of what to look for. Okay, and you're going to have a good idea of which combination of tools to use, but not everything with order flow is intuitive. So we've got a number of resources that are going to help you get up and running. First, the Jigsaw blog, which is trade videos and webinars. Second, a particular blog post on there for the cut and reverse drill. There's links in there to a web page by a guy called Guy Bauer, who trains the traders at PropX Prop Shop. Some of the stuff they do is on thin market as well, which is good for the guys that trade crude. But he actually talks through a lot of the drills that they do in PropX to get their prop traders up and running. We've also got a free order flow lessons page on the website. And also there's some Jigsaw customers that have got their own YouTube pages and are putting up their own videos using the tools. One of the most famous ones is a guy called Welly on Big Mike Trading Forum, and there's a thread there where he actually explains how he uses the strength meters and recon tape on the E-mini S&P 500 to confirm his price action trades. So with that, I will bid you good luck. If you do need to contact me, there's my contact details. You can also Skype me on Jigsaw Trading. And if you have any questions during the learning process, please feel free to send me an email or get in touch with me on Skype. Thanks.